Okay. One last like नया topic है diverticula of esophagus. Actually, diverticula it can be from esophagus to the intestine or lower small large intestine दोनों ही हो सकता है. Then we are focusing on particularly esophagus, diverticula of esophagus. By definition, it says it's an outpouching from tubular structure. कोई भी tubular structure हो जिससे pouch अगर बन रहा है, that is termed as diverticula. Diverticula are outpouchings from tubular structure. These are being divided into true and false diverticula. True diverticula, it says, it involves all the three layer, that is mucosa, submucosa, and the muscular layer of the intestinal wall. Whereas false diverticula says it's herniation of mucosa and submucosa through the muscular wall. That is, the muscular layer, muscular wall is intact, and through that wall or defect in that wall, there is outpouching of mucosa and submucosa. It is assumed that true diverticular are usually congenital and false are usually acquired. So on an average, it's an assumption congenital are true diverticula and the acquired diverticulas are false diverticula. Now to begin with esophageal diverticula, these are three types of has been categorized or been divided. Hypopharyngeal diverticula, diverticula of esophageal body, and esophageal intramural pseudodiverticula, that is EIP. Hypopharyngeal diverticula of esophageal body and esophageal intramural pseudodiverticula. These are the three types are being classified into esophageal diverticula. Hypopharyngeal diverticula, it is also being named on Zencus, that is Zencus diverticula. It was first diagnosed or described in 1767 by Lowe and next in 1877 by Zenker and von Jensen, as on the name Zencus diverticula. So hypopharyngeal diverticula is also termed as or named as Zencus diverticula. Prevalence of Zencus diverticula has been estimated as 0.1% to 0.01%. Commonly seen in 7 and 8 decade of life. It's more common, 2 times more common in women, in men than in women. And Zenker diverticula are rising to be as acquired diverticula. So common decade, 7th or 8th decade, more common in men than in women. By pathophysiology, it says this develop when abnormally high pressure occurring during swallowing lead to protrusion of mucosa through an area of anatomical weakness in the pharynx, known as Killen's triangle. So there is an anatomical defect or weakness in a Killen's triangle that abnormally high pressure during decutination or it leads to protrusion of mucosa wall. This Killen's triangle is located posteriorly where transverse fiber of the cricopharyngeal muscle of the upper esophageal sphincter intersect with the oblique fiber of the inferior pharyngeal constrictor muscle. So it's in the hypopharynx and in the Killen's triangle where the cricopharyngeal muscle and the oblique fiber intersect in the pharyngeal multipharyngeal area. So this is the pathophysiology behind the Zencus diverticula. Clinical feature, it says if it is small, usually are asymptomatic and do not lead to any development of the clinical feature. Whereas when it enlarges, it may result in dysphagia and regurgitation. These are the primary or main presentation with the Zencus diverticulum. A sense of choking, aspiration, voice change, halitosis, and may lead to weight loss. A choking sensation or aspiration, it is because of the food material or the things which are being ingested collect in the pouches and this regurgitate, leading to aspiration and voice change because of the aspiration or the amount of the material food which is being ingested. Halitosis is small smelling breath, it is because of the content in the hypopharyngeal pouches. A sign, voice sign is being defined, a palpable nodule or swelling on the left anterior neck that may gargle on palpitations. So this is termed as voice signs. Zenker diverticular are usually on the left side of the neck and the anterior neck, and it may be seen as palpable nodule. Need to be differentiated particularly from the thyroid gland. So main clinical feature is dysphagia and regurgitation, and because of regurgitation, choking sensation, aspiration, voice change and halitosis can be also seen. Diagnosis, obviously, it says careful history with these along-mentioned symptoms need to be differentiated. Dysphagia, particularly osteodysphagia and regurgitation may lead to the diagnosis or differential diagnosis of Zenker's diverticulum. A diagnostic study that can be used as barium swallow. In these esophageal oriented diverticular, basically barium swallow is more useful in comparison to the upper GI endoscopy. Zenker diverticulum, as I said, it is nearly always on the left side of the neck. Complication, it says squamous cell cancer may develop when the Zenker's diverticula. Estimated incidence is 0.4% to 1.5%. Another complication is bleeding that may occur from the ulcerated Zenker's diverticula, and aspiration pneumonia because of the aspiration of the food, and other symptoms that are being implicated with the clinical signs or symptoms. Treatment, obviously small asymptomatic or minimally small symptomatic diverticular do not need treatment. Can be followed, usually are asymptomatic, and once it does not develop symptom, need not develop symptom in future also. Whereas a large symptomatic diverticular need to be treated, and treatment as it justifies the particular surgical treatment, either open surgical procedure or transoral endoscopic technique may be used for the resection or the treatment of the diverticulum. Another group is diverticular esophageal bodies. Diverticular esophageal bodies are most commonly located in the middle or lower third of the esophagus. Estimated prevalence is from 0.15% to 2%, and these diverticular are being divided into two types: traction and repulsion. Pulsion diverticular. These are of two types, particularly located in the middle lower third of the esophagus, and traction or pulsion are the two types of diverticula. Traction diverticula are usually pulled out by an inflammatory fibrotic or neoplastic process outside the esophagus. That is, a traction or being created from outside the esophagus because of inflammation, fibrotic process, or the neoplastic process outside the esophagus. Whereas pulsion diverticulitis is typically caused by motility disorder. Diverticula located near the diaphragmatic hiatus are called as apophrenic diverticula. Apophrenic diverticula are because of complication of obesity surgery. So this is apophrenic diverticula being located in the located near the diaphragmatic hiatus. Clinical feature almost same with every diverticula, that is dysphagia. Dysphagia, it is because of underlying motility disorder or extensive compression of the esophagus by a large diverticula. Regurgitation, reflux, chest discomfort, weight loss, and diagnostics mainly based on the variant radiography. It is more helpful as compared to endoscopy. So these are the clinical feature and diagnosis. Complication obviously is squamous cell carcinoma have been reported with apophrenic diverticula. Bleeding is another cause. Perforation may also occur during instrumentation. Either nasogastric intubation or trying for gastric lavage or gastric nasogastric tubing. These are the complications. Treatment, obviously small or asymptomatic do not require treatment. Large diverticula may be inverted or resected. Esophageal intramural pseudodiverticula. It has been described in 1960. Pseudodiverticula are usually flask-shaped out pouchy, ranging in size from 1 to 4 millimeter. They may occur in any segment of the esophagus or in the entire esophagus. So the location for esophageal intramural pseudo-diverticulitis, it can be entire, it can be anywhere in the entire esophagus. Usually are small, 1 to 4 mm in size and flask shaped. Only about 250 cases have been reported, demonstrated in 0.09% to 0.15% of the median follow study. More common in 6th or 7th decade and more common in men than in women. So it is not rare, but not that rare. It cannot be usually seen with on the autopsy finding they have demonstrated. 250 cases have been reported and more common in 6th, 7th decade and more common in men. Here you can also the pathophysiology says it is because of abnormally dilated duct of submucosal gland. That is submucosal gland which is being abnormally dilated. It is thought to be acquired and are often associated with chronic esophageal inflammation. Clinical feature and diagnosis, mainly barium swallow. Tracking and communication between the adjacent pseudo-diverticular are also very common. Symptom, though usually asymptomatic when present, are generally related to the associated condition. That is either the cancer acid reflux disease, candidiasis, rather than the BIP itself. Complications are very rare, but cancer must be excluded. Treatment should be directed at the underlying causes, that is sepsis, reflux, candidiasis, or disease other than BIP. And EIP may persist even if treatment relieves the symptom. So this is with esophageal intramural pseudo-diverticulitis. Thank you. This is for today. In this group, basically, the disease which is being left is esophageal motility disorder. वही एक चीज है जो बच गया है, बाकी ऑलमोस्ट डिपार्टमेंट इसको esophagus has been covered and the tumors. The tumors have been also left. So this is all for today. Is there any question? Hello.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good day, sir.
Good day, sir.